So hey guys, so for starters, I just wanted to say happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there in the world that are present in their children's lives. So I haven't uploaded anything for a while because I'm dealing with my own mother in the hospital. She's been in the hospital for 3 months. She's starting to get better. Very slow progress is being made. So I've been really focused on her and that whole situation, so that's why I haven't really been uploading as much as I normally would. Now that that's out of the way, since today is Mother's Day, I figured, you know what, it's time that I tell my pregnancy story. So I'm going to tell you guys the story of how I became a mother. Okay, so for starters, my daughter, Zelda, her father is actually 20 years older than I am. So when I first got with him, I was about maybe 22 or 23, and he was like 42 or 43. We had that 20-year age gap, right? And at this point in life, I was trying to become a mother, but everything we tried, it wasn't working. So I went ahead and took myself to my OBGYN, and what they explained to me was that my body was just fine, that I was able to conceive. However, when trying to conceive with an older man, it's gonna take more time because the older a guy gets, his semen seems to die out. That's what was explained to me at my OBGYN appointment. So with all of that being said, the thought of ever becoming a mom, it just seemed hopeless to me. You know, because I wasn't getting pregnant because of him, because most of his semen were just not there anymore. They were dead, right? So, again, the thought of being a mother, it just seemed hopeless. You know, I started thinking, okay, you know what? I'm with this guy. We have a big age gap. It's not that I can't get pregnant because my body won't allow it. It's I can't get pregnant because this guy is 20 years older and you know, he doesn't have a lot of swimmers left, basically, you know what I mean? If you don't believe me, you can Google it. I'm not the best at explaining stuff like that, but anyways, so, yeah, it was really depressing for a while for me, just the thought of, you know, maybe never becoming a mother, but we did keep trying for it was over a year that we kept trying, and I remember back in 2017, it was like a couple days before Mother's Day, I started having symptoms. I started having menstrual cramps, but the menstrual part wasn't starting. So long story short, I reached out to my mom, and my mom told me, you need to take another pregnancy test. And I told her, I was like, Mom, do you realize how many I've taken and how many came back negative? Like, I don't want to put myself through that again. My body's just tricking me. I was completely in denial at this point because, like I said, I've been trying for a year. Nothing has happened. My OBGYN explained to me that my daughter's father's semen count was low, and just me getting pregnant may never happen, you know. And so I was just telling my mom, like, I don't want to put myself through that again, you know, and it's almost Mother's Day. I'm not doing that to myself, you know, but my mom told me, she's like, baby, you need, it's hard and it sucks, believe me, I know, but you need to try, like, you need to get yourself checked, like, take another pregnancy test, because what if by chance, by God's grace, it happened? What if you are and you start lifting heavy stuff and you start, you know, and I'm glad that my mom was nagging me about it because I eventually did take the pregnancy test, literally the day before Mother's Day, and it came back positive. And I remember looking at the positive pregnancy test, and I was in shock because, again, after trying for well over a year, and it's like, boom, I'm pregnant. I told my mom about it. I called her, and she ran outside screaming. She was so happy and so tickled that she was going to become a grandmother. So yeah, that's how I that's how I ended up getting pregnant. It took a very long time. As far as the pregnancy itself, there is a lot of side stories, I'm going to call them, that wrap up into my pregnancy journey, but they're negative, and I don't want to even go there. I don't want to remember the negative part of it, because we'll just say I was treated very horribly by the wrong people. And you know, you're when stuff happens to you during pregnancy, it scars you, okay? So I'm not even gonna touch base on that right now. I'm just celebrating my pregnancy, right? I'm celebrating the Mother's Day. But anyways, so when I found out that I was about 6 weeks pregnant, sorry, everything's toppling over. When I found out that I was about 6 weeks pregnant, my aunt wanted to take me out to breakfast at a restaurant, and she wanted to take my mom as well. So my aunt, on Saturday morning, she swung by, picked me up from my house. We went to my mom's house, picked my mom up, and then we went out to eat with a few other family members. It was like celebrating my pregnancy, right? And I got to the restaurant. I ordered breakfast. As I'm waiting for my breakfast, my own mother noticed I was getting very flushed, very pale, like all the color drained out of my face. And she told me, she said, "Baby, if you feel like you're gonna vomit, you better tell me so I can take you to the restroom." Oh my God, a few seconds later, I just grabbed my mom by the shirt and I was like, "Mom." And she's like, "Oh, I'm good. Oh, it's okay, baby, I'm good." She snatched me up and she pulled a waitress aside. She's like, "My daughter's pregnant, morning sickness, where's the restroom?" And the waitress pointed to the bathroom, and my mom just rushed me in there, and I started hurling in the restroom toilet. I was embarrassed, I was horrified, but I'm really glad that I had my mom there, because she was able to tell me, "You're going through morning sickness now, this is what it is, you're gonna be okay, you're not dying." Like, she was my confirmation, right? Now, my morning sickness, you guys, was terrible. It was monstrous, because, and my mom and aunt, they are both witnesses to this. My morning sickness from week 6 all the way to month 6, week 6 to month 6, I had that morning sickness. My morning sickness, I would vomit 4 times every 20 minutes. And as it was going on, I couldn't keep anything down. I couldn't drink anything. I couldn't eat anything. As the days went on, my body was getting weaker. As the months went on, my body was getting a lot weaker. The only thing I could sip on was a little bit of Gatorade and crackers. But other than that, I couldn't eat or drink absolutely anything. Vomiting 4 times every 20 minutes. And again, my mom and my aunt are witnesses to this. And it got to the point where I was severely dehydrated and I was pretty much starving to death. So I had to get taken to the hospital. They had to hook me up to IVs to rehydrate me, repump everything in my body. And a couple months down the road, I went to a doctor and I got put on nausea pills. But since this was my first pregnancy, I was afraid to get hooked on the pregnancy pills. So I tried to only take them when the nausea was severe. I didn't want to take one every day and get hooked, you know. I was just afraid. I was like very, very cautious with my pregnancy, right? But so again, this whole morning sickness and the severity of it went from week 6 to month 6, puking 4 times every 20 minutes. The nausea medication that I was taking at this point, though, it did help me be able to eat and drink a little bit more, so that was doable, right? But still, the morning sickness, completely severe. Around month 5, however, things started to get worse, because I don't know why, but both palms of my hands and my fingers, both of my full hands, my palms and my fingers and my entire feet were breaking out in hundreds of very itchy bumps, and I had to use itch cream as a lotion base to get my hands and feet to stop itching. I would have to soak my feet in steaming hot water just to get the itching to stop for 15 minutes. And this went on throughout my entire pregnancy, from like month 5 to, month 9. And like the itchy bumps and the whatever, right? Like I said, it was absolutely insane, absolutely severe. It's like, first you got the morning sickness that lasted from week 6 to month 6. And then around month 5, my hands and feet started breaking out severely in hundreds of itchy bumps. And it was unbearable. And I had to use itch cream as a lotion, like, it was a mess. My pregnancy was very, very tough. Another thing that the doctors to this day can't explain was, so when I first found out that I was pregnant, I instantly cut out all the carbonated stuff, all the sugar. I stopped eating chocolate. I stopped drinking soda. I stopped drinking coffee. And I started eating nothing but fruits and vegetables and downing bottles of water. But it didn't matter because I was gaining so much weight. I gained at least... I used to be 119 pounds. But as the months went on, even though I was eating healthy and cutting everything else out, I went from 119 to 170. 119 to 170. This is how much weight I gained. And the doctors had no idea why. They made me go to a dietitian. And the dietitian was even confused because I would tell them, like, I swear to you, I'm not drinking sodas, I'm not drinking coffee, I'm not eating chocolate, I'm eating fruits and vegetables and drinking water, but I'm still gaining all this weight. Like, I don't understand. And like I said, all the doctors were confused as well. So now we have this unwanted amount of weight gain for whatever reason. And it got to the point where, now, I do have to tell this one side story though. So I had a friend named Aaron. He was actually dying of cancer at this point. He's had cancer for a couple years prior, and he and I were like best friends. We would always play video games together. He was in his 60s or so when he passed, but we had that daughter-father relationship kind of a thing, and he really wanted to be there when my daughter was born, but unfortunately that didn't get to happen because so my daughter was supposed to be born on January 18th 2018, but instead of her being born, my friend succumbed to his cancer on January 18th. So he literally died on her due date. I woke up that morning and my brother had called me and gave me the news that Aaron had passed away, and I called my mom and I was like, please tell me it's not true. Like, Aaron's supposed to be there when I have this baby. Like, he's my best friend. Like, he's my second dad. And my mom just kept apologizing. She's like, baby, I'm so sorry he died this morning. The cancer finally took him. Like, I mean, she didn't word it like that exactly, like, oh, the cancer finally took him, but she tried to explain to me the best she could. The cancer got him. It got the best of him, and it, he's gone now, And guys, my mindset was just ripped. Like, I was like, how dare you die on my daughter's due date? Like, how dare you leave me when I need you the most, So a couple days later was Aaron's viewing, and around this time, I was 42 weeks pregnant. Zelda was like a week late. I was 42 weeks pregnant, and I told Zelda's father, I said, listen, I don't care if you didn't know Aaron like I did. I don't care if you choose to not go to his viewing with me. My mom and I are going. this is the last time I'm going to ever see this man, and I'm going. So he got me in the car. We picked up my mom. Then he dropped us off, and he went back home to watch the football game or whatever, right? But, so I saw my friend Aaron laying down at his viewing, and, like, all sprawled out and everything, and I saluted him because, you know, he was my everything. He was my world, and not only that, but he was also a veteran. And so I think it was like maybe 2 days after the viewing, the doctors had called me and told me that I had to get induced. The baby was late. My stomach was out there. My stomach was so far out there. It was as red as a crab. My stomach was so stretched out. It was red as a crab. So they told me that they were going to have me come in. They were going to induce me, and I was going to have the baby. Just a few days from that point. And I was like, okay. So I got my hospital bag ready. I had everything set and ready to go. And I kept in my friend Aaron, before he passed away, there was something that he told me. And that was, he always called me Penguin. Okay, I always called my friend Aaron a turtle. He always called me Penguin. It was like our nicknames for each other. And he told me, he said, Penguin, whatever which way you have this baby, whether you have it naturally or C-section, you're going to have to get up and walk the next day. They're going to make you get up and walk the next day. And when it's time for you to walk, you're going to start thinking to yourself, I can't do it. And when you start thinking you can't do it, I want you to do one thing for me if I'm not there. And I told him, I said, what's that? And he told me, he said, look at the baby. And I told him, I said, why would I look at the baby if I can't walk to get to her? And he told me, he said, don't ask me questions. Look at the baby. So I kept that in my mind the entire time, okay? Look at the baby. I didn't understand what it meant, but look at the baby. I kept that in mind, what he told me, right? So the day that I was supposed to have Zelda, which was January 25th, okay, a whole week later after my friend Aaron passed away, January 25th, me and my daughter's father, we picked up my mom and we all went to the hospital because I wanted my mom there when I gave birth, right? Like, I needed my mom. Everybody needs their mom. I needed my mom. And so I went there. And I went there like at 8 in the morning, and I was prepped up. I was ready to get induced. I told my mom, I said, listen, I'm naming this baby of mine, this little girl of mine, I'm naming her Zelda. That has been my dream name to name my daughter for years. It's going to be Zelda. I told my mom, I said, so listen to me. And I know this might sound corny, guys, but I told my mom, I said, listen to me. If I have to push out this gigantic baby, I want you to play the sword fighting music between Link and Ganondorf in the Twilight Princess video game. Okay, because that's going to make me push with everything I got. Like, that music. I had everything planned out. And my mom was like, if the doctors let me, I'll play that music in your ears, and you're gonna push, and you're gonna fight, and you're gonna get this baby out of you. And I was like, okay, because at this point, I thought I was gonna die, because I knew, because I'm short, you guys. I'm 5'3", and I have this baby that ended up being 10 pounds, 8 ounces, right? So I thought I was gonna die pushing. And I told my mom, I said, you need to play this music, because I have to keep fighting. I have to push this baby out, right? So she told me, she said, honey, if I can play that music, if it's going to help you get the baby out, and if it's going to help you keep pushing and fighting, I'm going to play it for you, right? So we had this music ready, and I had the nightgown ready, and I was ready to get induced and everything. I was there at like 7 or 8 in the morning, and then hours later, it's like 2 in the afternoon, and they came in and told me, we want to do one more ultrasound on you because you look pretty huge. We're not sure how that's gonna go because your body frame's very small, and this baby seems very huge. One more ultrasound. And I'm like, whoa, okay. So they did one more ultrasound on me, and how they described it was my daughter's head would have came out, but then her shoulders would have been stuck because her shoulders were too big for my pelvis area. Her head would have came out, but her shoulders would have been stuck. So they told me, we're just going to have to give you a C-section instead. So honestly, I was a little bit disappointed because I had this whole pregnancy plan perfectly planned out, and then now it's all flip-flopped, right? But I was like, okay, whatever I gotta do to make sure my baby's safe, right? So around 3 o'clock or so, maybe 3:30, 4 o'clock or something like that, they wheeled me back into the operating room. And you guys, oh my God. I can't say this word for the life of me. The anesthesiologist guy, he looked no more than 18 or 20 years old. He looked really young, right? And at this point, I was already hooked up to IVs. I was ready to give birth naturally. So when they took me to the operating room, like I said, I had IVs attached to me. I was ready, set, go, right? But the anesthesiologist guy apparently did not even notice the IVs or anything, because he put me on the table and he's like, all right, time for the epidural. And I'm like, okay. So there was a lady nurse that was standing in front of me. And she told me, honey, I want you to look at me, not at that anesthesiologist guy. Look at me. I didn't listen. I looked back at him and I just saw this monster-sized needle. My God. I looked at the lady nurse in front of me and I was like, what is he going to do with that needle? And she's like, what is he going to do with what? She was kind of telling me, I told you not to look. And I sat there and I'm like, oh, hell. Because I already knew where that needle was going. This anesthesiologist guy, he had no idea what he was doing, because, you guys, I swear to God, the first time he stuck this big-ass needle in my back, he hit a blood vein in my back. And he pulled out the needle, and he's like, pardon my French, guys, but he's like, shit, I hit a vein and our back's bleeding, give me a napkin. I'm shaking. I am horrified, okay? He's like, damn it, let me try another needle. Sticks another needle in. The second needle he stuck in, he hit a nerve inside my back, which I accidentally kicked the nurse that was in front of me. And he's like, ma'am, I told you to stay still. And I looked back at him and I said, you know what? You already hit a vein in my back and made my back bleed. Now you hit a nerve in my back and it made my leg jump. Don't you dare blame me for your incompetence. Just get it done and shut your mouth. I was so mad. So he gets another needle and he tries to stick it in. This third needle, I will never forget the scraping sound. He scraped my backbone. And he's like, oh, damn it, I scraped your backbone. And he comes over in front of me and he's like, ma'am, I am so sorry, but you have a very weird back. I can't get any of my needles where they need to go. And by this point, I'm like dripping with sweat because I'm horrified. And he looks at me and he's like, you know, I wish I would have noticed that earlier. And I'm looking at him, I'm like, what? He's like, man, you're hooked up to IVs. I could have just shot the medication through there and knocked you out like 20 minutes ago. I looked at him and I'm like, oh, I'm about to knock you out. So he's like, all right, guys, lay her back on the bed. We're just going to shoot the medication through her IVs. We're going to go that route. I wish I would have noticed that before. What? Right? What? So I laid back down, and that's when my water broke all over the table. I told the nurse, I said, and I wasn't even aware that it was my water. I looked at the nurse, and I was like, ma'am, I wet myself. She's like, what, honey? I said, I just told you I wet myself. Because of this stupid man back there not knowing what he is doing, all the stress that he put me under, I just pissed my pants. And she lifted up my gown and she saw my water broke. She saw the severity of it and she told the other nurses, okay, we need to wrap it up now. The baby's coming. Let's go. All I remember after that was I was put to sleep. I was knocked out. I woke up an hour later around 5:30, 6 o'clock or something. I think it was like 6 o'clock because I'm pretty sure my daughter Zelda was born around like 5:30 or something. So I'm just going to be safe and say I woke up at around 6 o'clock to hearing a baby cry. And I called for my mom. And I was like, Mom. And mind you, with all the medication still pumping into my system, my body was shaking violently. So I asked my mom to put her entire weight on top of me so my body can stop flailing and shaking. So she did that. And a few minutes later, the doctors brought over my daughter Zelda. And again, my daughter Zelda, she came out 10 pounds, 8 ounces in my 5'2" body frame, okay? They put this massive blubber baby in my arms. And I looked at my mom and I'm like, this came out of me. This is mine? Like, Zelda was such a huge Pillsbury Doughboy baby. Like, she was gigantic. And my mom started laughing. And what's funny, though, is the doctor told my mom and Zelda's father, oh, Zelda is 10 pounds, 8 ounces. And at the same time, my mother and Zelda's father synced. And at the same time, they both yelled, 10 pounds, 8 ounces, because they were just in shock that even though I was on this very pristine diet, somehow I had a blubber baby, you know what I mean? And so it was just it was just funny to me how in sync they were. But and then this very evil nurse came in, and she told me, well, I gotta press on your C-section scar, and if you move, I have to do it again. She was a bitch. Okay, she was a bitch. Like, there was no remorse with this woman. There was no, okay, I'm sorry about this, but 1, 2, 3, push on the C-section. There was no care from this woman at all. She pushed her entire weight on my fresh C-section, and I know they have to do that, but this bitch didn't have to be so careless and so cruel. Okay. She acted like she was angry that I was able to have a child. Like, this was the look in her eyes. She looked at me and my newborn baby, and this was just the look in her eyes. She pressed as hard as she could on my C-section scar, and I screamed in agonizing pain, and my mom and Zelda's father both told that nurse, you better back the F off, or we're both gonna jump you and do the same thing to you. Like, how dare you not be professional? How dare you not have any care? How dare you just be that way? So eventually she backed off. The next day came, and just like Erin told me, I had to get up and walk, right? The nurses told me, all right, honey, you need to get up and walk. And I sat on the edge of the bed, and no painkillers. I was in pain. And I told the nurses, I said, I just had a C-section less than, 12 hours ago? 14 hours ago? I can't get up. I can't walk. I can't do it. And they told me that. They were like, honey, you need to. And I just sat there and I started thinking, I can't do it. I'm in too much pain. I can't do it. I can't make it. But then a little voice came to my mind, and it was Aaron's voice. And I remembered what he told me to think about when this time came. Look at the baby. And I sat on the edge of the bed and I'm like, look at the baby. Look at the baby. Why would he tell me to look at the baby? And the nurses were like, honey, what are you saying? And I'm like, why would he tell me to look at the baby for? I turned around and I looked at baby Zelda, and it all made sense. It all made sense. I'm getting chills right now even talking about it. It all made sense. I looked at my newborn baby and I said, look at the baby. And I stood up and I pushed through all of that pain. All of that pain. I walked around the bed just to get to my baby. What Aaron told me to do, it just made sense. Ain't no amount of pain gonna stop you from getting to that baby. You know what I mean? And it was very empowering for me to do that. And that's basically my pregnancy story. My little girl, she's 7 years old now. 7.5 actually, straight A student. And she makes me a happy mother every single day. So yeah, once again, this is just my pregnancy story. Figured I'd do this because it's Mother's Day. So yeah, hopefully, I really hope you guys enjoyed hearing my pregnancy story video, and that's all I got for today. Again, I really want to wish a happy Mother's Day to all of the wonderful mothers out there that are present in their kids' lives, that do everything for their children, and just happy Mother's Day to all of you, and just God bless you for all your hard work and everything you do and all the sacrifices you make. Happy freaking Mother's Day. I forgot one little piece that I wanted to add in. So when I was about week 10 in my pregnancy, we scheduled an appointment it was like a consultation appointment before my actual appointment, if that makes sense, right? So I went there, and me and Zelda's father, we went to this consultation appointment, and it was a man there, the doctor, like the consultation guy, and he looked at me and he's like, so do you have any questions? I mean, yes, this is your first pregnancy. Do you have any questions? And I told him, I said, yes, I do have one question. Doing the deed while pregnant, that's not going to hurt my baby, right? I mean, it's an honest question. And he just made fun of me, and he laughed at me, and he looked at Zelda's father, and he was just like, really? She's really going to ask that question? And like, it's just that this guy was just completely unprofessional. And then he told me, this doctor guy, this consultation guy, he told me, he said, also, there is one more thing. And I said, what? And he's like, even though this is a consultation, I'm going to have to take you in the back room and check your cervix. And I looked at him and I said, no, this is not an appointment today. We were just told it was a consultation. He's like, no, I have to take you back and check that cervix of yours. And I looked at him and I said, oh, and how do you think you're going to do that? Like, what do you think you're going to do? You guys, I'm not even going to do it. But he made a certain inappropriate finger motion to me. And I looked at him and I said, oh, so you think you're going to do that to me? Hell no. I told him, I said, if anything, you're going to get a female and they're going to check my cervix. And he looked at me and he was like smirking, and he was like, you know, you do have to get used to men touching you down there. And I looked at him and I said, actually, no the hell I don't. Secondly, no the hell you won't. And thirdly, I have every single effing right to choose that I want a female. If I want a female, I'm getting a female. That's that. And he's like, well, what are you going to do when you're birthing out a baby and all the guys are doctors? I said, when the baby's coming out of me, I don't give a flying SHI. I said, you're not taking me back there and doing anything to me. Like, you're an effing creep. And, like, how dare you disrespect me and do that and think you're going to get away with it? Like, hell no, you ain't touching me. Zelda's father was left in shock. He was sitting there the whole time with his mouth open, he had nothing to say. Like, he was absolutely in shock. And he's like, well, fine then. If you want to make an appointment with a female gynecologist, go ahead. But the time is going to come where you're just going to have to get touched by other men. Like, he was very, I cannot express it, very inappropriate with me. And I just wasn't having it. And I told Zelda's father, I said, that's it. We're going to go make an appointment with a female gynecologist. And I got up, he got up, and we left. But that was, I had to tell you guys. I had to tell you guys this part because it was so, this consultation guy, I guess he was also like a male OBGYN, but he was extremely inappropriate. Like, extremely. Like, he kept smirking, he kept looking at me up and down. He really wanted to get me back there alone, and I was not having that. Okay, no, this guy was like in his 60s, okay, no. And like, I know age doesn't matter, right? Whatever. But it's like, this guy was a creep, and hell no, you're not getting me anywhere and doing anything you want to me. Like, hell no, stay the hell away from me. He actually found out what hospital I had my baby in. After I had my daughter, he arrived there and he came into the room that I was in after I had her, and he told me, he said, you know, I'm going to be here all night, well into tomorrow. I better see you getting up and walking. Don't make me come in here. I looked at him and I said, get the hell out of here. Don't you dare make me get out of this bed right now, because I will kick your ass. Get the hell out of here. And he eventually left, and you know what? I didn't see him after that. I guess he just left the whole hospital altogether after that, because I did not see him once. I didn't see him again after that. And I told all my female friends after that, I said, if you have to go to an OBGYN or whatever, don't go to this one, because he's a creep. Like, he is a creep. Like, don't. Anyways, that's the end of my story. Definitely the end of my story. Again, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. I hope you all have a very wonderful, blessed Mother's Day, a safe Mother's Day, a happy, gift-filled, luxurious Mother's Day, because y'all deserve it. I will catch you next time. See you later.